Good morning, children. It's Grandma Carla with more of the Littles and the surprise Thanksgiving guest. Chapter 7. Oh, Tom, look at the moon. Awesome! Lucy and Tom Little, along with their father, were on the Big's back deck. The Specks would be arriving that night, and the three of them had gone out to be the welcoming party. The Littles had used the secret door that was hidden behind an outdoor electrical socket. The door was just above the floor of the deck. Mr. Little looked up and whistled. That moon is a beauty, Lucy. See that red ring around it? That means that it's very cold up there. It's not so warm down here, said Tom, pulling his winter coat closer around himself. Granny Little had made it from one of Henry Bigg's mittens after Henry lost the other one. Lucy agreed. Tom's right. I'm freezing. I hope the Specks get here soon. Shh! Listen. Their father held his finger to his lips. Tom and Lucy stopped talking and stood very still. The three tiny people could hear a rustling sound below them, followed by lots of scratching and squeaking. They looked down towards the big cement patio. Tom, Lucy, and Mr. Little could scarcely believe their eyes. There, in the moonlight, 3 feet below them, dozens of mice were running about. They were scurrying under the deck and darting back out again. They must be going in and out of the hole in the basement window, Mr. Little said. I wonder why there are so many of them here in one spot. It's strange. It can't be just because of the broken window. They keep coming back outside after they've been inside. They're running back and forth. I know why, Dad, said Lucy. She pointed. Lucy's father and brother looked where she was pointing. Mrs. Bigg's bird feeder hung from an iron pole that came up from the ground. The feeder was overflowing with bird seed, and the seed had spilled all over the patio. The mice are eating the bird feed, whispered Tom. No sooner had Tom spoken than the mice stopped eating. They turned their heads and began sniffing the night air. As quickly as lightning, all the mice disappeared into the shadows. I wonder what scared them off, Tom asked. Do you think they smelled us? No, said Mr. Little. The wind is blowing toward us. They couldn't have smelled us. Besides, mice aren't afraid of us. Even if they were, they are all so busy eating that I don't think it would have bothered them if they did smell us. Well, they sure smelled something, said Tom. Look, they're here. The Specks are here. Lucy jumped up and down and started pulling on Tom's arm. She was yelling at the top of her lungs. Her father gave her a stern glance and held his finger to his lips. Shh, he said. We don't want to wake up the Biggs. Lucy stopped yelling and began to whisper in an excited voice. The Specks are here. The Specks are here. She was still jumping up and down. They could just barely make out the shape of Old Skunk. He was paddling along out of the woods and into the yard. So that's what the mice were smelling. Mrs. Little gave a soft laugh. As the big black and white animal got near the Biggs house, the Littles could clearly see 4 tiny figures riding on his furry back. What's that behind Old Skunk, Daddy? Lucy squinted into the moonlit yard. It looks like he's pulling a cart or something, Mr. Little said. Well, I'll be. It's a covered wagon. They must be bringing a lot of stuff. As the old skunk toddled onto the patio, Tom, Lucy, and Mr. Little could hear the voices of the people on the animal's back. They were talking and laughing. Suddenly, the tiny man nearest the front of the skunk let out a loud "Whoa!" and he pulled gently at the long fur on the skunk's neck, and the plump animal stopped in his tracks. You two stay put, Mr. Little said. I'll go down and help the Specks unload. He turned and headed toward the secret door. A minute later, the little children watched as their father made his way toward Old Skunk. They saw him shake hands with Stubby Speck and his wife and 2 girls. Then Stubby led Mr. Little to the covered wagon. Tom, who are they? Lucy whispered. 4 more tiny people were getting out of the covered wagon. It can't be, but it looks like the Snippets, Tom said. That's impossible, Lucy said. The Snippets are ground tinies. They never come out of the woods, and they never ever come near houses. They're too scared. Everyone knows that. Just then, the 4 tiny people stepped into the moonlight. It was a man and a woman and 2 teenage boys. "It is the Snippets," Tom said. "This is a first." Tom and Lucy watched as their father helped the Specks and the Snippets unload the wagon. They had lots of bags. Each of the 9 tinies had something to carry. The 2 Snippet boys then took the wagon harness off of Old Skunk and rolled the wagon under a bush behind the deck. Mr. Little led the troop toward the drain pipe doorway under the deck. Old Skunk turned around and headed back into the woods. "Come on, Lucy," Tom said. "Let's get inside and say hello to everyone. Can you believe it? Tree tinies and ground tinies in our house?" The 2 littles turned around and went into the house through the electric socket door. Let's look at our pictures for this chapter. And here we have a picture of them sitting and waiting for their Thanksgiving company to arrive. And here are the mice eating the bird seed that was falling out of the bird seed feeder there. And here is Old Skunk pulling the tinies. Oh, there's their covered wagon with more tinies. The Specks and the Snippets. And that is the end of chapter 7. This is Grandma Carla, and I love you.